Hi, good morning, or rather good afternoon, because it's in a 12 in the noon now. Hi, Rakshit. Hi. We'll just wait for my fellow guest Aman to join in, and we should be on our way. Hi, Dolly. Good afternoon. Hi, Aparna. Hi, Sapta. Hi, Ankit. We're just waiting for Aman to join in, guys. Just give us a minute or so, and we should be kicking off this session. Yeah, you go. Do you have Aman with us now? Just waiting on him to join in. Hi, Aman.
Hi, Nikhil.
Pleasure to have you on board. I'd like to introduce you first to everybody. So today's guest is Aman, who is a very seasoned communications and marketing specialist. His current role is the communications head at Policy Bazaar, where he actually helps set up the operations and scale it. Aman has worked across a plethora of industries, right from journalism, where I think you were in Times of India, Aman, between
Right,
2005 and
yes.
2010. So from journalism onto sports entrepreneurship, where Aman had his own sports entrepreneurship venture for about 6 years. And this love for sports, I think, has stemmed from the fact that Aman has played professional table tennis and, in fact, has played for the Leicestershire County when he was in UK, where he was doing, I think, his master's degree in Loughborough, where he's done in sports management. So I love the fact that Aman shares a fellow enthusiasm for sports. I think that is something that we get along because of that. Uh, and yeah, today, Aman, we'll be talking about our stream because everybody has been talking about what how this COVID and everything has impacted their life. Let's get rocking on how COVID will impact the role of communication or how it has impacted the role of communications today and how we see it impacting it even further going forward. So, without further ado, the cliche question as it is today, how do you think that this pandemic has affected the way organizations in specificity, Policy Bazaar, and your experience across the board in the BFSI industry, how has COVID impacted the overall scenario of communication, and how do you think this has evolved over a period of time?
Sure, Nikhil. Thank you so very much for inviting me here. Lovely to be here. Lovely to be sharing my views. Having worked in, very diverse industries and, across journalism, setting up my own venture, and then, coming to Policy Bazaar. I've seen communication from, very three different paradigms, three different paradigms. As a journalist, I would see, how people would get in touch with me, to get their stories across, especially around consumer awareness, because I used to be covering BFSI. And at that given time, I never understood the importance per se. I understood, the impact of media on consumer mind space, but I never understood, what role we were playing as messengers. When we were actually talking to these media people who were the brands who were actually pitching us their stories, and how we would actually weave those stories into stories that were actually not somewhere biased towards brands, but more actually building categories. And that grounding actually really helped me when I actually moved to, be it setting up my own venture, because I had a co-founder, so I was more playing the role of the marketing guy, and my
Okay.
guy was the second person. The other co-founder was playing the role of the operations and the coaching stuff. And I'm really glad that, Yashish and Naveen both gave me that opportunity. In 2014, I didn't come with any formal PR experience or communications
Mm.
background. And they gave me that opportunity to set up things from scratch. And basically, here we are in Policy Bazaar today. And I'm very proud to say that while a lot of work has happened, through Policy Bazaar between 2008 and 2020, a lot of credit goes to the class of 2014. A lot of people joined back then. Naveen Kukreja was back then the CMO. He is now
Yeah.
the CEO of Pesa Bazaar, which is doing really, really well in the lending space. Or Sai, who joined as the marketing head from, he came from Aviva, So, and also the SEO efforts. So basically, again, I think I always call, the whole what we did between 2014-20 was a story of uh, organic marketing, consistently being there on the consumer mind space through uh, shorter bursts of communications spread over a period of the year. That's what we did, and yeah, coming to this pandemic again, I think a lot of work has happened in the
Yeah.
last couple of years in the sense for the insurance industry. The fact that insurance was always seen as investment prior to 2008, and I would give a lot of credit again to Policy Bazaar, uh, that they were able to seed in insurance for protection. And we were again, we people who came in the class of 2014 were mere messengers. The larger vision was actually driven by Yashish. So the fact that thinking could change from insurance for investment to insurance for protection.
Protection.
It's a big story. Today, people come and want to buy term insurance. That wasn't the case earlier, and that has been driven through consistent communication, be it on the web, where we have done a lot of work on the SEO side to ensure that anyone who is searching around keywords around insurance, be it life insurance, that term insurance picks up. Like term insurance is one of the top pages, one of the top results. Similarly, on the media side, the whole thing was around working with the media, the journalists, and I'm really really glad that my journalist friends were also very very keen to build this category awareness. And all we have done is just be consistently working with them on this theme of insurance for protection. And today you see that in pandemic time that
Yeah.
pull is existing. The work of the last 10-12 years of Policy Bazaar is visible in the fact that today, during this pandemic time, first time people want to buy insurance. So if, like insurance was always supposed to be like push driven product. The pull has been created for the first time, and I think
Yeah.
this is gonna be staying for here. It's
Yeah.
gonna be here now. People really really want. I keep seeing in my lot of conversation with my friends who keep calling me the last couple of years. These calls have increased. Whether someone will ask, they want a good health insurance plan, or they would actually would have already have an insurance plan. They would ask, should I go for a top up? The fact that they're making this call is the fact that they take insurance seriously. Similarly, term insurance, again, innumerable cases. And I come from a small town, and I look at things on the ground. When the number of queries increased in person, that is where you see that actually the change is happening. And again, like I think while people are making their own choices, they still need help. Insurance is complicated, and I think the whole industry, the data, everyone is working in this regard to make products simple. The fact that the terminologies, the more simplicity it comes in the terminology definitions, I think the easier it will be for people to make their own choices. That process has begun, and I think in the next 5-10 years, you will see more simplicity coming into insurance.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's interesting that you bring that point out because I think somewhere the role of communications in terms of a demand creator or a category creator is often undermined. And I think in a country like ours where penetration of insurance is not great, I mean it's sub 1% of the GDP, right? We're talking about 0.9% of the GDP. In fact, even lower for general insurance, probably slightly higher for life. I think that need for awareness and information being put out in a more formal manner is really good. And like you said, the journalists. Now earlier, I still remember a time when newspapers and editions used to have journalists that did the financial beat, which was predominantly banking. NBFC and insurance was just one little small part of it that carry releases, etc. But now you see a lot of focus around insurance beat journalists who are specifically focusing on this, focusing on regulation, focusing on how to make stuff easier for customers. Obviously, there are a lot of personal finance websites, even websites such as yours. Policybazaar does a great job at demystifying stuff for customers. But in terms of newspapers, financial websites, I think there is a lot going on in this space where enough and more content can be put out without, of course, being brand biased and without getting to advertorial. I think in terms of the COVID thing, I think what you said is correct. The journey towards that pull has kind of begun, right? It was always push, it was always distribution driven. And I think even in the future, insurance will always be a conversation led, as Mr. Tapal Singhel keeps saying, a conversation led sort of a topic. But yeah, this is getting that first stage of attention at least to embark on that journey. Awesome. So what I wanted to ask you next is, where do you see, especially in this space, that that we are in insurance, where do you see this evolve? I mean, today we are typically looking at very, very limited set of, I would say, journalists or newspapers or sets kind of taking this up. Where do you see this evolve? What do you think is the communications 2.0 for insurance going forward? It's your perspective.
So I think somewhere there are channels today to communicate more effectively. See, eventually, your audience is consumer, and you need to look at channels which have mass reach. Now, that doesn't mean you need to look at only the traditional media sets. I think there is a fixation with the brands to, get stories, outreach done in Times of India or Economic Times. But again, I think the smarter brands, who can look at the future, will need to reinvent their strategy, and they would need to look at, where are these channels where actually, which can give you reach. And I must tell you, there are a lot of youngsters who are doing phenomenal job on the web of, they have scaled up to millions of audiences on their own channels, or they've started these websites which have gained traction in the last couple of years. And I just came across one, and 21-year-old, two founders. I was actually speaking to them about something. I got very interested looking at their website, and I said, I want to get our brand featured there. And then I realized these people were founders actually, and the kind of reach I'm talking about here is, they have a following of 1 lakh on LinkedIn themselves. Plus, again, they're already getting a traffic of 1 million on their website, which is phenomenal. So you need to invest in such kind of niche channels which are emerging, which are focusing on youth, which are focusing on multiple set of audience. So you need to look at, again, you don't need to have a fixation with brands. You need to look at, where the returns are higher. And again, I think somewhere it is going to get a mix of paid. It is going to get a mix of a little bit of branded content. But at the same time, the content levers will remain the same. What you do actually on the organic channel, I think that would be the key. And again, I think, again, one of the most effective ways what we did during the pandemic was webinars. And again, I think this is what we are doing as of now as well, in a way. So webinars were fantastic in the sense, what we realized, a lot of concerns that were coming around us, or what we were seeing on the social media activity was, is COVID-19 covered in health insurance or term insurance? That was a, like, if 100 queries were received, 70 of them were like those queries. So, when we did this webinar, phenomenal number of people were there who had questions around term and health insurance. And again, I think it gave us an opportunity to speak to them one on one. And all we did was, have 5 minutes of little conversation on the side. We spoke about the topic that we were supposed to discuss, but actually we gave those 40-45 minutes to those consumer queries. Ultimately, that is what consumers want to know. And ultimately, if you do that, they're going to become somewhere your followers. They are going to somewhere come to you more often for their advisory. And again, I think communication 2.0 is all about consumer communication. It's all about digital communication. Media communication is going to be the larger subset. So media communication will provide that impact on that day. But again, I think you will need to look at these pieces to have that wider impact. And that is how I see the things moving. So it's going to be interesting, I think, next 5-10 years, because media is struggling, frankly speaking. And again, the organic spaces will become lesser. So how smart you are with content, how good you are with your story making abilities will decide how much space to get. And again, if you have a sound relationship over a period of time, you have that authenticity built with them over a period of time, that is something going to help. Otherwise, those spaces are going to become lesser and lesser. And so you need to build your own channels. You need to invest in your own channel. Own media is going to become very, very important. And branded content, how you provide the content, how you make it more awareness oriented. As far as buy-induced behavior is concerned, you always have different channels. But again, you need to look at which channel you're going to use for what, and how you're going to use your comms team effectively, especially when you're talking about organic. So I see clear separation between, communication is going to become organic marketing, and brand, is going to become inorganic. Having said that, organic will have a larger role to play in both organic and inorganic. And inorganic will actually set the tone for organic to put their focus on. If you know that inorganic is spending somewhere, in the sense, if there is a paid channel, that the paid channel is going to spend in the next 6 months on a certain market, you need to be prepared enough to use all those content levers to, effectively leverage whatever messaging you are trying to put out.
Interesting. I think you raised a very good point about almost there being now a need or a space for financial influencers. And I think, Deepak, I'll take one audience question here because it kind of fits in well. Creating a category of awareness through communication in insurance. How important and difficult do you think it is? I think you kind of answered that. But I think what you also said about being financial influencers, whether they're external, whether they're internal, whether you have somebody in your organization that is socially available or is big on social media. Like we've been lucky that our CEO, MD and CEO has been a social influencer for a long time. So content that he puts up has a larger consumption value. Now, similarly, look at influencers on, say, Instagram, on LinkedIn or other spaces. I think that could be one way of looking at the future. It's a very interesting concept. And like you said, it's a mix of paid and earned media, and obviously owned media. What do you own? And it has to be all in sync, because many times you see a lot of organizations where the earned media versus what is being spent outside the campaigns are at crosshairs. One's talking of motor insurance, the other's talking of health insurance. It doesn't really sync up. And I think that sync up is crucially important. I'll just take one more question, which I will put to you. Porcelain Song says that why are insurance policies worded in such a complicated manner with so much jargon? I think this is a pet peeve of everybody. And that too, crucial points are mentioned in small print. Insurance industries need to change that. What's your take on this, Yaman? I think this is something we've heard a lot of times.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, I think there is work happening. There is a proposal. We have been talking about it a lot as well. The fact that, there has to be, like, the most important features has to be listed in one page in some pointers which are bold enough for people to look at it. So again, I think apart from obviously, those hefty documents, there has to be one page which explains everything, which is very, very important from a consumer perspective. And I think that is something I'm sure going to happen. Industry is working towards it. The fact that industry has moved from the fact that everyone thought that opacity, being opaque will bring in more business. That was how industry operated in the past. But again, I think in the last 15, 20 years, things have changed a lot. The industry
Definitely.
has opened up. There has been de-tariffing. And people have realized that actually, bringing transparency is bringing good consumers, which means, the loss ratios are reducing in the sense, it is better for the industry. So I see work is happening on this regard, and I think in the next 5 to 10 years you will see definitely these changes happening.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think most companies, most insurers who are forward looking are looking to simplify their policy wordings and terms and conditions, because obviously you want to attract a new set of customers. Everybody keeps talking of millennials and this new set of customers who wants to look at products. But I think financial awareness in the newer generation has actually started getting better, because I think the basic needs are taken care of. So now they can think of stuff like risk and insurance awareness and stuff like that. There are a lot of new startups that are doing a lot of work on this space as well, where they're trying to kind of sachet the insurance product and simplify it and stuff like that. But I think, yeah, a lot of work, especially with what IRDAs were doing with the insurance sandbox. I think a lot of work is going on in that field as well. So yeah, that's a good question, Porcelain Song. Uh, I'll just take one more audience question. Uh, One is from Aarti, who says, how do you ensure that content and recall of insurance sustains? Considering COVID brought into insurance limelight, sustaining its push even after COVID era stuff. Now, one question here, I'll just take a follow-up question with this with you here. Now, when COVID happened, right, somebody had asked a question that did it make it easier for you to communicate as insurers? There was this little thin line, right? You didn't want to be opportunistic. You do not want to come along as trying to play on people's emotions, sentiments. But yes, at the same time, you wanted more and more people to be covered. Now, Aman, according to you, are you supposed to play this fine balance? Because yes, there is awareness, but you want to talk about stuff. Yes, it does become slightly easier, but how do you play that is what I wanted to ask you.
See, obviously, when this COVID situation happened, there was uncertainty all around. And so basically, again, I think there was a business uncertainty, which meant that obviously, we all people at that given time were not sure of what's in store. And I think what happened at that given time was obviously everyone was looking to do communications in a responsible way. At the same time, I think the sanity came in little over a month. What is this situation here to stay? But again, I think initially, I think what all happened was we were ensuring that there was timely communication. You know, the idea was that we were available, that messaging was there consistently. That actually, this pandemic has again showed that why it is important to buy insurance in advance, not look at any adversity to buy insurance. And we had a lot of cases where people would come to us and ask for okay, we want to buy insurance plan now, and they might have already got contracted with some kind of a disease. So again, I think in these given times, even awareness becomes even larger, has a larger role to play, because one is throughout you are actually trying to raise awareness, and there are people who might get interested in it. Here, people are actually interested to know more about insurance. So the fact that when people are interested, that means you have a far bigger role to play in terms of being available. And a lot of people want personal communications, which is not possible. At the same time, you can always club them. You know what I mean? Basically, you can always club those topics. Say, is Corona covered in my health insurance? That's a common question. Similarly, how do I raise my sum assured or sum insured? So you can always club those subsets and start communicating more on those in your, be it customer communication, be it your media communication. So you will always get that kind of voice from the ground, and you all need to do is analyze, and again, I think that also depends on organizations where, how effectively and in partnership
Connected there, yeah.
all the different functions are working together. Because from the com side, I think I see a lot of customer care work happening in the future. uh, it has begun, but I think it's going to happen more. And it's very important because people don't, right now, not many brands, give that kind of a data to a communications person. It's mostly
Get your
what
point.
is coming from the top, but not from the bottom. So that bottom means, when I'm talking about the bottom, it's not about the employee, but actually I'm talking about
The
the
customer bit.
consumer. So that is very important. And I again, Policy Bazaar has been a young startup, very different structure from many organizations. So that way, we had an advantage. Things moved very quickly. I won't say we were right in whatever we did in the during the pandemic, but again, I think we learned and we were able to quick fix whatever we learned. And I think that is where our success story lies, that we are quick learners, quick executioners. And execution is very important. At the
Yeah,
same time, you need to be empathetic, you need to be sensitive. These things are given. But
absolutely.
how quickly you are able to turn around what you are thinking in terms of your messaging, and put on the right channels is very important.
That's a very good point there. I remember when the pandemic started. I think luckily we were working from home a couple of days before it was announced the lockdown, because we wanted to do a dry run. Yeah, maybe our MD and CEO said that we told him that's just not going to happen, but we were quite sure that we had to do a dry run and get stuff into place. And I think taking care of your own people becomes very, very crucial at this time. And I think good brands such as yourself and ours did that in a big way. Employees were more adept at working at home because they were, put into a practice of doing it a couple of days earlier. IT had to be in place, and most importantly, I think the role that comms played here was to put employees' minds at ease, give them the relevant info related to COVID that was publicly available, but in a more organized, sorted sort of way. I think that is also a crucial role that comms helped, not just facilitated for customers, but also facilitated for employees and the internal stakeholders, because only when your people are taken care of, that they can. But I love their perspective on the fact that comms now has to learn from actual customer feedback and actually try and solve those queries in media, rather than looking at what's trending or what's topical and stuff like that, which is a very good point, and I take that learning with me going forward. So thanks for sharing that. Just one question from my side, Aman, before I open it up to another couple of audience questions. Do you think the lines are getting blurred? And I think we discussed this briefly, between digital marketing, offline ATL, BTL, and comms. Do you think that there is a little bit of a mishmash, and it's all a little bit of a medley here, and it's all going to come together for a better, more marketing 360 going forward?
Definitely. And again, I think, as I mentioned, again, for me, it's more about organic and inorganic. And again, where there are heavier spends, it's more media planning, and where there is an organic, you have to have those organic experts. So basically, what I feel is, we have right now too many functions. They need to be clubbed together. And that is why there are a lot of mismatch is happening. And I see the future, the organizations which will be simpler in their structures will be able to will be quicker in their feet, in their messaging, and will be more effective in their distribution reach as well. And I think that will happen over a period of time. And basically, you know, uh, see, the thing is, like, there is a lead generation happening through certain channels, right?
Yep.
And again, messaging content becomes very, very important. Now, again, you can divide it into two pieces: long form, short form. You know what I mean? There is a copywriter and then there is a long form writer. So you need to actually divide those functions basis either long form content, short form content, or organic or inorganic. As simple as it. So right now you will see, at some places in the marketing, larger subset, digital marketing will be reporting, and in some it won't be. So when I say marketing has today become what? Brand marketing, digital marketing, and communications. And actually there is an SEO side as well. So
Yep.
depends where it is fitting. But again, I think how I see is organic or inorganic, long form, short form.
Okay, okay. So it's almost in a way that comms and your SEO kind of work together on building
Yes,
content, putting info
yes,
out there where it's required and stuff like that. Yeah, I
yes.
completely
And again, I
agree.
think SEO should fall under comms. Uh, and again, I think people tell that there is you need specialists for SEO content. There is no rocket science. At least
There's
what
a
I have
rocket
seen
science,
is
right?
there's no rocket science. It's all building good content, ensuring that those keywords are there. But if you are telling the story in a more effective way, you know, it's a long tail.
Yeah,
It's
of
like what
course.
you work with the media as well. It's a long tail. And the better content you're going to see it in the web, the better results you're going to get in the long run.
Yeah, I think the keyword there is sincerity. I think if your sincerity in your story, algorithms are getting better to recognize that you're actually talking about customer awareness rather than just focusing on your brand or your story, which is going to work out in the long run.
Or even like, something could be like a performance marketing
Yeah,
or, non-performance marketing, communications marketing. So I see, you need to change this whole marketing function in the future.
yeah.
It's not sustainable. It's creating clashes. Organization need to think of better structures.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the whole hierarchy of putting them into silos is kind of moved out. It has to be more looked at. Maybe what is the focus of the organization for that month, for that period, for that quarter, and maybe
Right.
then derive a strategy around that rather than working in silos, making products. One department focuses on the ATL, BTL, or something else, whereas you're talking about something else. I completely agree. And I think for insurance, it becomes even in sync, right? So, for example, if you have a make model that is not profitable, or maybe let's say four-wheeler line of business not profitable in a particular geography. Do you want to push health in that geography? Do you want to talk about more health on the communication that you're sending out to media? And yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Let's take a few customer, or I would say our customers, audience questions if we can before we wrap up. One very interesting question I had from Deepak Garja. He said that Policy Bazaar has heavily invested on mainline, especially TV, especially during the COVID days. How effective has it been as an inorganic channel? What have been the learnings?
See, we have been always investing heavily in television since 2014-15. And for us, somewhere it is measurable. See, the fact is, we are a consumer internet company and we can see the results of what we are playing on television very quickly in our traffic. So somewhere it has been measurable. Uh, and it has helped our brand to become that household name. Obviously, that has
Correct.
been in tandem with the communications team or the SEO team. But the fact that you're able to measure, you are able to see the traffic for yourself. I think that's a result you want to look at when you are spending that kind of money.
Correct.
So, so for us, those results have been there, and we saw pandemic as again an opportunity, and we have upped our spends, and we could see that pull was coming, and that is why you would see us spending even more money. In fact, again, like for us, the media planning on that side has been always uh, been very very clear. Having a larger spread, buying those properties which have the maximum reach. So it has worked out beautifully for us.
That's awesome. Because, especially us comms professionals always get asked this question, right? How do you measure the effectiveness of any communication that you're sending out? I mean, there is share of voice, there is a lot of stuff that goes out in terms of analysis that a lot of media companies provide us. But the actual bang for buck is when business is growing in the direction that you want. I know there's no direct attribution always possible.
So
Maybe in a
again,
B2C company like yours it is, but yeah.
I would say, on the consumer internet side, it is measurable.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
you know, see the thing is like brand you are spending on a certain days. Communication is happening throughout the year, 365
Yeah,
days, and it's so when you're not running an ad, you know it's a brand that you have built. It's a brand that you have built is getting you that traffic, and that is I think is attributable to a lot of people, communications, the customer service team, the SEO. All these people are somewhere participants of that traffic which is coming. And I think again,
absolutely.
I think somewhere, that model of attribution has to come in, kick in, so that that recognition is given to these functions who are also working, very heavily in building a brand, in maintaining, that, they're not only the brand builders, but they're also, ensuring, in the crisis, during the crisis, they are the ones who are the custodians, and they are the ones who are sustaining it throughout the journey, so again, I think both have a role to play. Uh, the brand side, in the sense, the marketing side, the performance marketing side, and the organic marketing side. Both have a role to play. And again, I think that attribution has to start happening for people, for functions. Uh, the better recognition these functions will receive, and I think you will see even better outcome for the organization in the long run.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Moinak's agreeing with you. Moinak has said that communication helps build brand over a period of time. I think that is bang on. I think whilst we are on this, just to close out, Aman, wanted to understand challenges. Yeah, I mean, of course, typical PR folks have challenges that we pitch stories and media doesn't take them and journalists don't like them and all of that. But
Yeah.
what do you foresee as challenges going forward, especially with COVID, with media houses not really running at full throttle, not running at full revenues? What do you see that challenge and of course the opportunity therefore?
See, I think challenges are very simple. Uh, Brands who won't invest in content leadership will struggle. Own channels, branded content. You need to use your communications people in these channels. If you won't, I think you will always struggle to put effectiveness or ROI coming from this guy or this girl who have hired. So brands need to look at these people as content leaders, and as far as media is concerned, that's part and parcel. You need to build. It's not like you will be able to build that relationships or that content leadership or awareness relationship with the media in a go. But again, those channels will shrink. Media will shrink. They will move to paid, and I would love actually media moving to paid subscriptions rather than actually monetizing more and move towards branded content. It's going to go part and parcel. But again, I think they need to look at subscription. They need to up their,
Revenues, yeah.
a newspaper, we pay what, 4 or 5 rupees. I think we need to pay 15, 20 rupees. Why are you subsidizing? No, don't. Please give us better content. I think the industry, I don't know, like there has to be a first mover who has to up the rates and have that confidence. Someone has to take that call and up their leadership in these times. So again, things will evolve. Otherwise, someone will come and disrupt. Otherwise, someone will
Correct.
definitely come and disrupt on the digital side. Uh, I think there are already some long form content creators who are doing a good job. They have just started their journey. I'm sure they would find out better ways to make money. They are right now making through subscription. And I feel at the same time, subscription is not the only model through which you can make money. You need to have alternative revenue channels kicking in. So
Of course.
you will see next 10 years a lot of disruption happening for the first time because media somewhere was sitting in a very comfortable zone, unfortunately. And there is a situation which has come in. And unfortunately, a lot of people who have created, who were their storytellers, have to be let go, which is very, very sad. Uh, so I feel again that media has to play a better role at monetizing what they have. I'm just giving you an example of a large media house. Uh, their main product, which is their newspaper, is not making enough revenues, but there's brand, which is being outsourced to some other entity on the group side, is making better money, through doing events, through doing awards and whatever. So what stops the main media, the newspaper side to do all those activities? So somewhere, I think I will blame it on the BD guys. They didn't innovate enough. They didn't innovate marketers on the traditional media houses side. The situation that we are in today, that media houses are struggling.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very fair point. Because at the end of the day, I think digital disruptions at large, if you look at formats like InShots, right? I mean, they are news aggregators, but they typically you're getting to read your news in what, 5 seconds per news item, move on to the next one. I think newspapers are languishing behind on that for sure. But I think more than that, what you said about, guys like subscription, like ET Prime is doing it, Ken is one more magazine that's doing it. It's just a change of mindset, I guess. If you can
Yes.
subscribe to a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, you can definitely subscribe to a newspaper that gives you knowledge. Okay, last question before we sign out, Aman, from the audience. Richa is asking, PR is about credibility. Do you think mixing in advertorials and yellow journalism paints that overall credibility? I think it's a continuation to what we were speaking about right now.
No, see, the thing
Interesting.
is like editorials need to have that pinch of editorial. Unless you have that pinch of editorials, I don't think can work. See, as I mentioned, I was just mentioning that long form and short form. You need to have specialists, and I feel the brand guys are very good at short form. The copywriting
Correct.
part,
Correct.
and long form is somewhere that it's the communication people's forte. And somewhere, if you are gonna buy that space, it's actually you're buying an editorial space, and you're trying to give it an ad
Yeah.
outlook, right? So better buy an ad now, one page, rather than have an editorial. So
Absolutely.
give it that
Absolutely.
editorial feeling then. It should look authentic. If it is not looking authentic, you're just selling your product. Buy an ad. You're
Yeah.
wasting. कोई
Yeah,
इतना
wasting.
tons
Yeah.
of content. No one is gonna read that tons of content. क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है उससे? So again, I think people need to be smarter, in identifying which content levers work for what, and that is very, very important.
Fair point. I think that's a very good point. I think ads are also going towards that about instant call to actions, right? Give me a missed call, give me an SMS, scan this code, write into me. That sort of. I think that makes more sense than writing a boring advertorial which says advertorial at the top, feature. Anyway, Aman, thanks a lot for your time. I think we will close out the session now. And I would really like to thank you for being a part of this session on behalf of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. It was awesome having you on board and actually discussing something that both of us like. And yeah, just a lot of fun. Hope to do this again soon. Catch up soon as well. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
Pankaj.
everyone from the
Lovely
audience. I
talk.
think they were great questions as well, right? Yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Aman.
Thank you.